Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of Russia's Wagner mercenary force, has defended his short-lived mutiny against Moscow's military leadership in a boastful 11-minute audio statement. In the recording, Prigozhin claimed that his actions were taken to prevent the dissolution of the Wagner Group and that he never intended to overthrow the government in Moscow. Key takeaways from Prigozhin's statements include reasons for armed incursion into Russia. Prigozhin claimed that the Wagner Group was to be disbanded by July 1st due to intrigues and ill-considered decisions. He said the Wagner commanders gathered and decided against signing a contract with the Russian Ministry of Defense, fearing a loss of combat capability. Occupation of Rostov-on-Don. According to Prigozhin, his forces planned to leave Rostov-on-Don in a public display by June 30th and surrender their equipment. He took pride in the operation, calling it a masterclass on how the invasion of Ukraine should have been conducted. Why they stopped their march on Moscow. Prigozhin stated that they stopped the march to avoid shedding Russian blood and were not seeking to overthrow the government. He mentioned that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko extended an offer to find a solution for the Wagner Group to continue operating within a legal jurisdiction, which led to their withdrawal. Prigozhin did not reveal his current location or future plans in his statement. The veracity of his claims and his portrayal of the events could not be independently verified. On June 27th, Russian President Vladimir Putin held a meeting with members of the Russian security forces, aiming to dismiss any criticism regarding the Russian authorities' delayed response to the recent Wagner mercenaries' mutiny. He praised the military for preserving the country from civil war and was joined by Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu during the meeting. The dismissal of Shoigu and Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov were among the key demands put forward by Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, which led to the rebellion. Viktor Zolotov, the chief of the Russian National Guard, who also attended the event, claimed that the uprising was orchestrated and provoked by Western special services, asserting that they had prior knowledge about it several weeks before it transpired. However, he didn't provide any evidence to substantiate his claim. Zolotov mentioned that following the failed Wagner uprising, the Rosgvardia might receive tanks and armored vehicles that were previously possessed by the Wagner mercenaries. In the meeting, Putin also acknowledged that the funding for the Wagner Group came solely from the Russian state. He stated that from May of the previous year until the previous month, Russia had provided Wagner with 86 billion rubles, equivalent to $1 billion. In addition, he mentioned that Prigozhin, through his catering business, had earned a similar amount of money. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has reported that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, has withdrawn his demands for the dismissal of Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov. After a series of negotiations, Lukashenko indicated that Prigozhin relinquished his initial conditions. Lukashenko quoted Prigozhin as saying, "I will not demand that the President Putin hand over Shoigu and Gerasimov, and I will not even ask for a meeting." Lukashenko responded, "Good. This is an excellent step. Nothing can be gained by demanding the impossible in this situation, straining the situation." This could indicate a potential easing of the conflict between the Wagner Group and the Russian authorities. But the long-term implications and the ongoing dynamics between these entities remain to be seen. The Ukrainian State Border Guard Service has reported that their military units are advancing in the region near Bakhmut. This was announced in a statement on Telegram. According to the Ukrainian defenders, their main objective is to neutralize as many enemy infantry units as possible. They are utilizing various military tools to accomplish this, including unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, automatic grenade launchers, mortars, and recoilless guns. Additionally, aerial reconnaissance units from the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service are adjusting artillery fire in real time and tracking enemy actions. The statement also highlighted that some Russian soldiers, unable to withstand the pressure, are voluntarily surrendering. It's important to note that the situation in Ukraine is very fluid, and circumstances can change rapidly. These updates should be corroborated by multiple reliable sources to ensure the accuracy of the information. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has announced that the Belarusian armed forces have been put on full combat readiness. This declaration reportedly came on June 24th, during the period when the Wagner PMC, a Russian private military company, was carrying out a mutiny and marching towards Moscow. Lukashenko claimed during a meeting with law enforcement officers and journalists on June 27th that Belarus has the technical capabilities to confront Western nations. He made this assertion despite reports of rampant corruption within the Belarusian armed forces and security services, and widespread public disapproval within Belarus. The authoritarian leader, who has been in power since 1994, said, "We were assigned the mission of preserving the peace won by millions of lives of heroes, our fathers and grandfathers." Lukashenko added that this responsibility necessitates being stronger than the threat that once again hangs a shadow over our land. These statements come during a time of heightened regional tension and internal unrest. It's important to continually monitor multiple reliable sources for the latest updates as events unfold. Andrei Yusov, the spokesman for the main intelligence agency of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, has claimed that Russia has been using the situation with prisoners in Hungary for its own interests. In an appearance on a nationwide telethon, Yusov described the situation as a Russian information operation with several objectives. According to Yusov, one of Russia's objectives was to enhance the reputation of the Russian Orthodox Church. Additionally, he stated that Russia aimed to create conflict between Ukraine and Hungary. Lastly, Yusov claimed that Russia attempted to use the situation with prisoners to manipulate international law and disregard Ukraine's sovereignty. However, Yusov concluded by stating that Russia's information operation didn't achieve the desired results, at least from an information perspective. This implies that Ukraine has successfully countered Russia's alleged attempts at misinformation, or that the international community did not respond in the way Russia had hoped. In his address to Russian troops at the Kremlin, President Vladimir Putin praised them for averting a potential civil war in the wake of the Wagner mercenaries' rebellion. This upheaval represented one of the most significant security threats during Putin's more than 20-year rule. He commended the troops, encompassing members of the Defense Ministry, the National Guard, the FSB Security Service, and the Interior Ministry, for their demonstrated loyalty to Russia and adherence to their military oaths. According to Putin, their actions showed a sense of responsibility for Russia's future and the protection of their homeland. Putin led a minute of silence to honor the pilots who lost their lives during the conflict with the Wagner mercenaries. The exact number of casualties wasn't disclosed. He lauded these pilots for fulfilling their orders and military duties honorably and without hesitation. Putin also emphasized that the Wagner mercenaries, under the leadership of Yevgeny Prigozhin, failed to gain the support of the Russian people and the Russian military. Those who participated in the rebellion, he said, quickly realized they did not have the backing of the army or the populace. Furthermore, Putin stated that the rebellion did not require the redeployment of combat units from the Special Military Operations Zone. He assured that all military formations continued to engage in a heroic fight at the front lines throughout the duration of the rebellion. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has reported that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, has withdrawn his demands for the dismissal of Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov. After a series of negotiations, Lukashenko indicated that Prigozhin relinquished his initial conditions. Lukashenko quoted Prigozhin as saying, "I will not demand that the President Putin hand over Shoigu and Gerasimov, and I will not even ask for a meeting." Lukashenko responded, "Good, this is an excellent step. Nothing can be gained by demanding the impossible in this situation, straining the situation." This could indicate a potential easing of the conflict between the Wagner Group and the Russian authorities. But the long-term implications and the ongoing dynamics between these entities remain to be seen. This is a tragic incident. According to a statement from the National Police of Ukraine, a missile attack was launched by Russian forces on a pizzeria in Kramatorsk, in the Donetsk region, leading to the death of at least 3 civilians, including a child, and injuries to 42 others. Donetsk Regional Military Administration, Pavlo Kirilenko, confirmed the incident and reported that among the injured were 3 foreign citizens. He also indicated that there could be more victims trapped under the rubble, and rescue operations are currently in progress. Kirilenko condemned the attack, labeling it as a deliberate act against civilians and a war crime committed by Russia. He stated, "Russia is a terrorist state." This incident serves to underline the ongoing volatility and danger in the region, with civilians caught in the crossfire of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Alexander Kamyshin, Ukraine's Minister of Strategic Industries, has taken on the task of coordinating and monitoring the restoration of bomb shelters throughout the country, as stated in his recent Telegram post. While local government will continue to bear the primary responsibility for the functioning and availability of the shelters, Kamyshin will be working to ensure the shelters are brought up to a suitable standard. This decision appears to have been prompted by a tragic incident in Kyiv, where people died as a result of debris from a downed Russian missile hitting a closed shelter. By overseeing the condition and preparedness of these shelters, it is likely that Kamyshin and his team hope to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The tragic missile attack on the city of Kramatorsk in eastern Ukraine on June 27, 2023, has resulted in the loss of at least 8 lives, including 3 children. The Russian forces reportedly launched 2 S-300 surface-to-air missiles, one of which hit the Ria Pizza restaurant located in the city center, leading to significant destruction and casualties. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine confirmed the details of the incident, reporting that the bodies of 8 deceased individuals, among them 3 children, were recovered from the ruins of the cafe building. The children who were victims of this heinous act were born in 2008 and 2011, making them just 15 and 12 years old, respectively, at the time of the attack. The second missile fired during the attack struck a village on the outskirts of the city, injuring 5 more people. This incident marks another in a series of violent acts carried out against civilian targets, intensifying the international community's concern over the escalating humanitarian crisis in the region. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine continues to cause substantial damage to civilian property, as indicated by the most recent report. According to Mykola Lukashuk, the head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council, artillery shelling has led to a fire in a private house. Firefighters are currently on the scene working to extinguish the flames and limit the spread of the fire. In addition to the ignited house, the shelling has damaged 7 other homes and 6 outbuildings in the vicinity. Rescue and emergency services are presently on site, assessing the extent of the damage and providing necessary assistance. These attacks not only endanger the lives of civilians, but they also destroy their homes and infrastructure, causing significant disruption to their daily lives. International attention remains focused on the situation in Ukraine, with urgent calls for an end to these acts of violence. Tragically, Russian forces have reportedly launched an artillery attack on the village of Novy Komar in the Volnovakha district, located in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. The attack resulted in 1 civilian fatality, a 56-year-old man, and injured his 53-year-old wife, who has since been hospitalized. The assault also caused damage to the couple's home and sparked a fire. Anastasia Medvedeva, a spokesperson for the Donetsk Regional Prosecutor's Office, reported this information to Suspilny. It should be noted that, on June 25, 2023, 3 additional civilians were injured due to Russian shelling in the Donetsk region. These developments continue to underscore the grave civilian cost of the ongoing conflict. The international community is keeping a close watch on these events, and many are calling for an immediate end to the hostilities and a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has tragically led to widespread devastation in the city of Mariupol. As per the latest reports, Russian forces have destroyed nearly half of the city's residential buildings during the siege. The number of completely demolished houses has exceeded 300 since the start of the occupation. The city council has highlighted that many residents are still living in their homes, desperately trying to ensure their dwellings remain intact amidst the ongoing onslaught. Despite these efforts, the destruction continues. Recently, 2 more houses located at 77 and 79 Metalurov Avenue were reportedly demolished by Russian forces. The extensive damage inflicted on Mariupol is a stark reminder of the immense human and infrastructural cost of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Latvia has temporarily stopped accepting visa applications from Russian citizens due to the unpredictable political developments within Russia, according to a statement from the Latvian Foreign Ministry. This decision follows the armed uprising by the Wagner terrorist group, a Russian paramilitary organization, in Russia over the past weekend. The country's foreign minister and president-elect, Edgars Rinkovich, advised caution in response to reports suggesting Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, is heading to Belarus. Rinkovich highlighted that such a development would pose a direct security challenge not only to Ukraine, but also to member states of the European Union, EU. He stressed the importance of enhancing security in the EU border area under such circumstances. These actions underscore the heightened concern among European nations about the potential spillover of instability from Russia into neighboring regions amidst the ongoing crisis and conflict in Ukraine. Ukrainian defense forces are carrying out offensive operations in the directions of Melitopol, Berdyansk, and Bakhmut, as confirmed by the spokesperson of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Andriy Kovalyov. According to the Military Media Center, the Ukrainian military has seen success in the directions of Novodarivka, Priutna, and Novodanilivka, Robotyne. They continue to use artillery against identified enemy targets. Furthermore, the Ukrainian defense forces are conducting offensive operations in the Bakhmut direction, specifically in the areas of Horokove, Vasilivka, Ivanivsky, Kurdumivka, and Pivnichny. They are gaining a foothold on the achieved boundaries. Kovalyov noted that the Ukrainian military is also continuing to restrain the offensive of Russian troops in Limany, Avdiivka, and Maryinka directions. This information suggests that the conflict continues to be active with ongoing military operations on several fronts. Before Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, halted his march on Moscow on Saturday, allies at various levels reportedly warned Ukrainian officials against launching strikes on Russian territory during the rebellion. The concern was that such strikes could be perceived by Russia as assistance from Ukraine and the West to Prigozhin, posing a threat to Russia's sovereignty. An official said, "The message was don't rock the boat here," adding that the message was delivered at the level of foreign ministers, deputies, and through ambassadors. "It's an internal Russian matter," Ukrainian officials were told, echoing what US and other Western officials have publicly stated. The official explained that Ukrainians were cautioned by allies not to exacerbate the situation. The advice was, "Make hay of opportunities on Ukrainian territory, but don't get drawn into internal matters or strike at offensive military assets inside of Russia." The official added that Russians have always sought to demonstrate threats to Russian sovereignty. Therefore, there was no need to feed into the narrative that the mutiny was an initiative by the West. Alexander Lukashenko, the leader of Belarus, has confirmed that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner mercenary group, is currently in Belarus. Prigozhin reportedly moved to Belarus from Russia after his forces briefly staged an armed rebellion, capturing the southwestern city of Rostov-on-Don in Russia and initiating a march towards Moscow before suddenly calling it off. Lukashenko confirmed Prigozhin's presence in Belarus while speaking to a group of top Belarusian military officers in Minsk on June 27th. "Yes, that is true. Prigozhin is in Belarus today. I promised him, saying that if you want to stay at our place and so on, we will help you. Of course, on their own expenses," Lukashenko said. Lukashenko also revealed that he agreed with Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Krenin, who had expressed interest in integrating Wagner mercenaries into his forces. Earlier that day, Lukashenko had announced that he had placed the country's military on full combat alert in response to the uprising. Lukashenko, who has ruled Belarus since 1994, alleged that the uprising was part of a supposed threat from the West. He claimed that Belarusian border guards were reporting provocations by NATO almost every day. Earlier the same day, a private business jet previously used by Wagner's head Yevgeny Prigozhin landed at a military airbase outside the Belarusian capital, Minsk. The crisis in Russia was defused after Lukashenko reportedly brokered a deal allowing Prigozhin to leave for Belarus. Lukashenko expressed hope that Wagner commanders would assist in training Belarusian security forces. "If their commanders come to us and help us, tell us what is important right now. That's priceless," he said. He also sought to assuage any fears about the sudden Wagner presence in Belarus, asserting, "We will keep a close eye on them.